hide and speak hero of the week.
So this is a new weekly segment where we honor someone who is fighting for privacy, free speech, and internet freedom. We want to highlight the everyday heroes who stand between us and total surveillance state. So if you want to go ahead and roll that clip.
We salute the hide and speak hero of the week.
This week's Hide and Speak Hero of the Week is a man named Jonathan from Bend, Oregon, who goes by exstaticj on Reddit. Jonathan is an inspiration to us all because he is living proof that one person can make a real difference. Like many people, he does not want to be under constant surveillance, so he was naturally opposed to the flock safety cameras popping up all over his hometown. But Jonathan decided to do something about it. His undying vigilance to this cause was the driving force behind Bend, Oregon canceling their contract with Flock Safety and disabling the cameras, a massive privacy victory for this city of 100,000 residents. It also sets a precedent that people can use to convince their own cities to ditch the Flock surveillance network. From all of us here at Hide and Speak, and on behalf of every single person out there, since privacy affects every one of us, we want to say thank you. As this week's Hide and Speak Hero of the Week, Jonathan will receive a free month of vp.net, the only VPN that can't spy on you. Jonathan was kind enough to prepare a statement for us about his path to victory and also some brilliant advice and actionable steps you can take to make a difference in your own community. What happened in Bend is proof that local governments can change course quickly once policymakers and the public clearly understand the privacy, civil liberties, and security trade-offs. Our approach was not about being anti-safety or anti-police. It was about being pro-accountability, pro-due process, and pro-democratic oversight, especially when a system enables wide area location tracking and the data can be accessed, searched, or shared in ways residents often don't understand until it's too late. Here are the concrete steps we took that led to Bend, Oregon deciding to end its relationship with Flock. 1. Build a receipts-first fact base. Get the documents, quote the documents. We obtained the contract packet, amendments and addenda, and supporting procurement materials and read them closely. We pulled the sections that matter most to residents and policymakers: what data is captured, how long it's retained, who can access it, how sharing works, and what the vendor controls versus what the city controls. The receipts matter because they shift the conversation from opinion to governance. We could point to the city's own paperwork and ask officials to respond to the reality of what was signed. 2. Translate privacy concerns into decision-maker language: risk, liability, compliance, governance. We frame the issue as a legal compliance risk, including sanctuary obligations and potential exposure if data is accessed or shared in conflict with local values or state law. Data control risk: who ultimately holds the keys, how easy sharing can become mission creep, and what happens when outside agencies get access. And security and operational risk: what the system enables in practice and what turning it off actually means. 3. Communicate early, clearly, and in writing to the people with authority. We emailed the mayor and council, but also made sure to email the council's general inbox so every member received the same information at the same time. The goal wasn't to gotcha anyone. It was to ensure they had a clear, documented explanation of the risks, backed by sources that they could review on their own devices and share with city staff and legal counsel. 4. Build public visibility without overclaiming. We used local media and community channels to raise awareness using verifiable facts, not rumors. We kept our tone grounded, acknowledged that tools can help public safety, but insist that the governance, safeguards, and vendor practices have to meet a high bar. 5. Organize community participation. Show up, speak, and repeat. We encourage residents to attend meetings and submit comments, and we help people focus on a few clear points rather than a scattershot list. We drafted concise public comment and pivot notes so people could adapt to whatever council announced in the moment. Consistency mattered. The same core concerns, repeated calmly by multiple residents, is what breaks through. 6. Use examples from other places to remove fear of being first. We pointed to other cities and jurisdictions that paused, restricted, or ended similar deployments. That's important because officials often hesitate if they think they're the first to take a step. Precedent makes action feel normal and defensible. 7. Prevent the vendor swap problem by pushing policy-first guardrails. We emphasized that the real problem isn't which vendor, it's the policy framework. Access rules, auditing, sharing limits, retention minimization, transparency, and consequences for misuse. If a city ever considers ALPR again, policy needs to come first, before a purchase, so the rules aren't written by vendors after the fact. 8. After a decision is made, insist on real follow-through. We're turning them off is not the same thing as data collection and data transfer have stopped. We stress the need for clear confirmation of the status of collection, upload, access, sharing, and removal, because residents deserve to know what is actually happening, not just what is being said. The biggest lesson is this: education changes outcomes. Once Bend policymakers and staff understood the privacy and security implications in plain language, supported by documentation, they were willing to change direction. That's not because they suddenly became privacy activists, it's because they had enough information to evaluate risk and governance honestly, and they saw that the public was engaged and paying attention. And that leads to the larger point. Change scales upward, city to state to national. Most surveillance policy is adopted locally first. When enough cities take action and adopt stronger standards, it becomes easier for states to follow. When enough states act, national lawmakers can no longer treat the issue as theoretical. It becomes an obvious mainstream governance requirement. Local actions matter, and they compound. That's why educating the public on how to take effective local action is paramount. How to request and read contracts and policies. How to communicate with elected officials in writing. How to show up and make public comment count. How to demand policy-first safeguards. And how to verify follow-through after the votes are taken. If people take anything away from Bend, I hope it's this: you don't need to be an expert to create change. You need receipts, clarity, persistence, and community.
Hide and speak, privacy doesn't